Thanks for joining us on the Week in Review. I'm Paris Schutz. 10 days on from Election Day, does Cook County finally have a winner in the Democratic state's attorney's race?
Eileen O'Neill Burke declares victory in the tightly contested Democratic primary for Cook County State's attorney. But the Clayton-Harris campaign could call for a recount. City Council members want the Johnson administration to provide regular updates on evicted migrants.
We have to hold ourselves to a higher standards as elected officials.
Veteran alderpeople blast 25th Ward Alderman Byron Sigcho Lopez for speaking behind burned U.S. flag. But Mayor Johnson supports keeping him in leadership position. Mayor Johnson says he's open to public investment around a potential new football stadium on the lakefront, but former Governor Pat Quinn says let the people decide.
Give the people of our city a chance to vote on this issue in November.
And in sports.
He busted him, and the Tigers take a pristine shutout.
White Sox pick up right where they left off last year with sluggish opening day loss, and the Cubs starter Justin Steele goes down to injuries.
And now to our Week in Review panel. Joining us are Madison Saavedra from Block Club Chicago, Steve Daniels from the Chicago Tribune, Rima Amin from Chalk Beach Chicago, and Lee Giangreco from Crane Chicago Business. Let's get right into it. Some late breaking news tonight, Lee Giangreco. The AP calls the race in the state's attorney Democratic primary for Eileen O'Neill Burke, and we have word that Clayton-Harris is accepting the results, so it's pretty much over.
Yeah, it looks like it's over. Like you said, this came in just minutes before we started here, so I'm feeling that right now.
You just put out a story, didn't you?
I did. Just a quick update on this. It looks like there's actually not going to be a recount here. That was something that folks were mulling over the past week or so when it seemed too close to call, but that's not the case, and it looks like Eileen O'Neill Burke will be the Democratic nominee, and presumably, given we're in Cook County, probably has an easy path to state's attorney now.
Steve Daniels, it took 10 days here. Does something need to be re-examined about how the city and county election authorities count these mail-in ballots? I know it's state law that allows ballots to come in 2 weeks later if they're postmarked on Election Day.
Yeah, we editorialized, yes, there needs to be some change here. Not huge changes, but 2 weeks is much, in doing a little research for this, is incredibly liberal, as it turns out. Almost no state that I saw has that long a period of time that you have to wait or can wait for a postmarked ballot to be returned. Most of them are a week. A lot of them are Election Day, including some very blue states, very liberal states. We're going to get another one of these squeaker close elections at some point or another. It would, in our opinion, behoove everybody to change this so that we don't have another replay of this kind of thing. People can adjust their voting habits, mail in, either take your chances with the Postal Service or, get there a week before Election Day or what have you. And I think there's also a lot of discussion about merging the Cook County Board of Elections and the Chicago Board of Elections.
Right, these are separate election boards for the Cook County suburbs in the city of Chicago. Madison, are you surprised that the Harris campaign doesn't want to do a recount given how close this was?
I don't know if I am, because the city of Chicago alone is very big. There are a lot of precincts there and in the suburban Cook County, and my understanding was that a recount is expensive, and it's expensive if it's how much could that vote count really shift. So I'm honestly not that surprised. I mean, I love drama as much as the next person, but I think I also am happy that it might be ending. Yes, exactly.
If I can also just jump into what Steve was saying, I understand what you're saying about Cook County and Chicago maybe merging those two, but I think the better argument when it comes to mail-in voting is not shorten the period of time, but actually fix the infrastructure behind this. I spoke with experts on this earlier this week asking why, why does this seem like it's taking so long? And they said, well, since 2020 especially, more people are using mail-in voting now, and we have these, very creaky systems across the U.S. that, frankly, are still used to people going to the polls. So I think it's going to take some more funding and, better technology to handle this new way that people are voting.
Well, there's a situation here where the spokesperson for the Cook County, for the city of Chicago, they're the head of this, Max Bever, had said, mea culpa, I gave you an update, but the numbers were wrong because I didn't count this UPS van that had a big dump.
Right.
You know, does that show some kind of distrust in this?
I don't think it helped, given there was already a lot of, conspiracies flying on social media over this last weekend. But I think.
And now I'm sure those will be strangely silent from those conspiracy theorists.
Yes, it did seem to be cropping up as Clayton Harris got more of a lead in those last couple days, and those seem to have dropped off.
Rima Amin, so what does this mean for that office, that all-important office that has been held by Kim Foxx for 2 terms?
I mean, I think even though the race was really close, I think it represents the kind of ideological pendulum swing among voters that, they want the office to move in a direction that's really kind of different from Kim Foxx, and I think that's what the candidate represents.
And the big difference is going to be how they prosecute things like retail theft. I mean, Kim Foxx made a point not to charge a felony to those that stole less than $1,000 worth of goods, even though the state law is $300. Eileen O'Neill Burke says, no, you steal $300 worth of goods, you're going to be slapped with a felony.
Yeah, the thing that struck me, we saw a lot as this process kept going on, a lot of discussion from people on the left saying, this is so close, this is not a mandate to overturn everything Kim Foxx stood for, et cetera, et cetera. The thing about that was Eileen O'Neill Burke didn't run on overturning everything that Kim Foxx stood for. Far from it. I mean, she
supports
talked about
the no cash bail provision.
She talked about keeping the restorative justice focus as well. I mean, most of it really was about the operations of the office. They're dramatically short of prosecutors, of just really the functioning, the running of the office. I think we will see some shifts in terms of emphasis, well, let's call it. But she didn't claim a mandate. She didn't run on a mandate of overturning absolutely everything that Kim Foxx.
But she certainly did get a lot of donations from Republicans, from some of the wealthiest folks in Cook County. That kind of signals that this is the route they want to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think 2 things signaled the route that Burke is likely to go. One, those donations, as you mentioned, coming from more either conservative Dems or even some Republicans.
And business owners, restaurant owners.
Yes, she also had the head of the FOP, the Fraternal Order of Police, backed her as well. And then I think the other thing that folks were looking at, even though, as all of you noted, there wasn't a huge departure from Kim Foxx in terms of what Burke wants to do with the office, but I think some folks were looking at Eileen O'Neill Burke's past decisions. There was a very controversial decision where she prosecuted a 10-year-old boy that was later found to have had a confession coerced from him by a police officer. So I think whether you want to crack down on crime and have more of this old school, 1990s tough on crime approach again, or you want to go a more progressive route, I think that's why you saw more of those conservative folks backing her.
All right.
Steve, I was going to say, it's not an either-or thing. I don't think anybody was, including on the right, was advocating going back to the 90s. I think that there's a little bit of a tabula rasa here, as people are reading into what they want out of what she stood for. But if you actually heard her speak or saw her on the campaign trail, she was not espousing, maybe in the very later days of it, she was getting a little stronger on anti-crime. But overall, this was not about rolling back everything.
All right, Madison Saavedra, we have to talk about the measles outbreak in Chicago, now more than 30 cases. What's the city doing about this?
Well, it's actually more about 52 cases as of today. So a majority of those cases are being found in the largest migrant shelter, or at least one of the
troubled
largest
shelter in Pilsen.
Yes, has had a couple of issues over the past, 6+ months. And now they're rolling out some new guidelines to try to curb this. So first, after initial cases were found, they tried to, and it did successfully, vaccinate all the adults and the children, because this is a shelter with families with school-age kids who were going to CPS schools, they were going to daycares. So now they're encouraging families to get 2 doses of this vaccine, a second one a couple weeks after the first one, which is following public health guidelines. And then they're also asking families to keep children ages 1 to 5 home from school and home from daycare to try to curb the spread of those within those environments where they can be spread pretty quickly. Something that the Public Health Department commissioner had mentioned is that breakthrough cases of measles, so like when maybe kids only have 1 dose, those can happen to kids who are younger than the age of 5, and so that's why they're now encouraging the second vaccine, which will, hopefully, fingers crossed, get things under control. Not even just in this shelter, but citywide, because not all the cases are in this shelter. There are some, non-migrant Chicago residents who are coming down with this illness.
And Rima, you cover CPS. How concerned are CPS officials about this?
I think they've been monitoring the situation a lot. I think one general concerning thing to all schools officials is when your kid can't go to school, can't go to preschool, like preschool age kids, 3 or 4 or 5 years old. It makes it a tough situation for the parents, and nobody wants to see kids out of school for a long time. So I think on top of the health concerns, there's likely that concern as well.
All right, let's go ahead. You wanted to jump in here.
No, I was just going to say that is something like that continuity of care, especially as kids, at least in these migrant shelters, they might be having to transfer schools as they leave or they find new living situations. So just, kind of an added complication there.
All right, some complications here in City Council with Alderman Byron Sigcho Lopez, who spoke at a Gaza rally in front of a burned American flag. Now some of his colleagues want some kind of punishment. What kind of recourse do they want for their colleagues?
So it looks like they are asking to censure him. Byron Sigcho Lopez is head of the Housing Committee. We were just discussing this before. This seems a little harsh, at least in my opinion, for what happened. And Madison, I think to what you were saying, those 11 councilmen can't really agree on what this punishment is for exactly.
Well, and he says that he wasn't there when the flag was burned. Clearly, there's some pictures on social media, and he acknowledges that there is a burned American flag in front of him. Does he deserve some scrutiny here as an elected official?
Sure. I do think that censuring may be a waste of time, to be honest. And
the mayor's already said he's not going to remove him from his leadership post.
Right. We went through a censuring vote with Carlos Ramirez Rosa back in the fall. And the city council is kind of a fraught place these days. You've got sort of factions that are lining up. You've got progressives, and then you've got, I don't know what you want to call them, regular Democrats, but they're an opposition bloc, and this just adds to that. And there's plenty of that as it stands on actual issues that affect the city.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see how this ideological breakdown is evolving. Rima, let's turn to CPS. So we just had an election. We had a mayoral election, not even a year ago. Now, right. Folks are circulating petitions for yet another election. This is for the elected school board. Are folks going to be paying attention to this?
We hope. This is Chicago's first ever elected school board. And this week, prospective candidates could start collecting signatures.
And they need to get 1,000 signatures? Are there 1,000 signatures out there to get?
That's a great question. I think that there's some question about whether people even understand how the process is going to work. The city's going to be divided into 10 districts, and so do people even know, do constituents know what district they're in? Is there enough education out there on that?
I don't know what district I'm in, that's for sure.
I'm only learning mine. I've actually already forgotten which district I'm in.
Because this has gone through so many iterations, and there was talk about there's going to be 21 elected school board members, right. So the mayor is still going to appoint 11. Yes. 10 are going to run, but then the mayor's see, even I'm still confused. Eventually, they will all be elected.
And in 2027.
So try making sense of that if you're the average Chicagoan.
Yeah, it's really hard, and again, I think it's going to be a lot about education and seeing what the Board of Elections is doing to do that, and what maybe organizations are doing. And I also think that there's going to need to be a level of understanding too of who's kind of pumping money into these elections and who's running candidates, who's supporting candidates. So there's a lot happening. But the very first step started this week, which was if you want to run, you can start collecting your 1,000 signatures, and you have until June.
Is this going to come down to the teachers union versus other special interests?
I was just about to say the political aspect of this, which Alderman Gil Villegas brought up earlier, was that this 1,000 signature requirement here looks like it's going to benefit the Chicago Teachers Union. You know, they have the foot soldiers to actually get people out there, so they're the ones that will be able to get their candidates out there.
And let's not forget they had a significant hand in writing this law.
Yes, and confusingly, and I think I've said this before, basically what happened was that episode of Veep, Nevada, where the two sides switched. So
Extremely familiar.
yes, thank you.
You'll have to fill me in on that one.
Well, basically, you had, you know, at first the CTU wanted a fully elected school board,
that's
and
right.
more of the, we'll say, conservative Democrats wanted the hybrid model, and then that flipped.
Then they flipped because CTU got their guy in the mayor's office, and they're like, he's got the power to pick the members. Why would we want to give that up?
Exactly.
There's going to be some organizational opportunities, maybe not in this election, but when we get to the fully elected school board for organizations other than the CTU to get involved in this too, on the other side of these issues from CTU. And the question I've got, and I don't know that we've seen this emerge yet, but whether those sorts of organizations already are trying to get involved and get people to run. I mean, it's going to be pretty interesting to see who's on the ballot in November.
I think the answer is yes. The Illinois network of charter schools has nearly $2 million in funding in their political action committees, and so I think that we're going to see a lot of different interests kind of jumping in and trying to get their candidates into office.
All right, Rima, also the Chicago School Board has decided they're going to move away from student-based budgeting, how they're allocating money to schools, toward need-based budgeting. What does that mean on a school level?
Yeah, so essentially right now, schools are basically funded based on the number of kids in a building. A school might get more funding if there's lots of kids with high needs, if you're serving a lot of kids with disabilities or students who are learning English as a new language. But essentially the base of this formula is based on how many kids are in a building. The district has announced that they are moving completely away from student-based budgeting, which was a campaign promise from Mayor Brandon Johnson, who still controls the school board. And they're moving towards a new formula which will give every school a base level of resources, so your principal, number of teachers, but then each school will get additional resources based on their needs, so something they're calling the opportunity index, which takes a lot of things into consideration. We still don't know exactly, though, how this is going to impact schools, but the district is saying that this is, they believe this is a much better way to address needs and address the recent enrollment declines that we've seen.
And maybe a more equitable way to distribute.
Yes.
But does that mean if you're a school in an affluent neighborhood, you might lose some funding at your school?
Yeah, and the other thing too is that the CTU contract has to be negotiated. There's so many moving parts with the budget coming up that we don't know. We don't know what state funding is going to be. We don't know. There's a funding cliff that's impending for. So all of these things, you put them all together, it just creates massive uncertainty. And I can only imagine going into the next school year what it is going to be like for these schools. Because I've had some experience when my kids were younger there was a little bit of a Hunger Games thing that would go on with the schools where they would try to recruit students to come in so that they could get more money for the budget. So there's arguments to be made on either side of this. But the bottom line is it just creates even more uncertainty.
All right, some uncertainty, Steve, for the Bally's Casino. The company's bonds have been downgraded. Is that cold water on their plans to build that permanent casino on the site of where your paper is now?
Well, it's not good, is it? I mean, nothing that we've seen of late about Bally's, its financial health, the state of that project has been good. None of it has been. It's all been trending in a negative way. There are really huge questions about what is exactly going to be built on that site, if anything even gets built on that site. And we, certainly the Tribune on the editorial board, spoke about our worries that we were going to have some kind of low-rent casino end up on that site that, essentially a slot shed, which is not going to do anybody any good. It's not going to raise the kind of revenue the city wants, and it's actually going to have potentially a deleterious effect on the city. Now, hopefully that won't happen, but that's the concern.
Lee, what's going on with Bally's?
Yeah, so I think, based on what Steve said and also, what I've been looking at, like you said, Moody's, they downgraded their rating, so did the S&P as well. So that's for Bally's, not just the casino in Chicago, but Bally's, the entire company. And they've said that they are still going to build the casino in Chicago on time. It's supposed to open in fall of 2026. Same thing for the stadium that they have planned in Las Vegas. The company said after this downgrading, no, everything is going fine. It doesn't affect any of our plans. But I'm very skeptical because, as you said, Steve, they're not doing well. The temporary casino in the Medina Temple has not been hitting its marks in terms of what the mayor wants to get out of it per his budget. And so based on that, I just don't really see this going well.
All right, Madison Saavedra, Lee brought up stadium. Former Governor Pat Quinn this week said, hey, you want to get taxpayer money for a football stadium? Let the taxpayers vote on that. Why not?
No, I mean, I personally think I'm in favor of that, and that is as someone who doesn't cover sports or have really a stake in Chicago sports, except for the fact that I am also, a taxpayer and have an opinion on this. But I do think it's interesting that we're now getting some momentum on that, even though it would be, my understanding, a non-binding referendum, so not necessarily have any concrete impact. But I believe he also cited a poll that said a majority of poll takers said they would oppose taxpayer money going to something like that. So I take it that signals that at least he sees taxpayers as coming out against something like this. And I mean, I'm curious what the results would have, what impact they would actually have on decision making, because maybe that's the skeptic in me. It's if the sports teams want a stadium and they want the money, and the lawmakers are going to give it to them, then really doesn't matter what everybody
certainly
has
has
to
been
think
the
about
history
it.
here, but Mayor Johnson says he's open to public investment to build up the area around the stadium. Where exactly would that be? They're going on the lakefront, which is protected.
That's a good question, right? The lakefront is a really difficult site to do this at, for lots of reasons. The legal questions around it, how does this affect the museum campus? That's a huge question, yes, how does it promote economic development around that area, if at all? We're early days. The Bears had their own poll that showed people supporting taxpayer money, which you can take with sort of a grain of salt. But at the end of the day, this is going to be the mayor and also Governor Pritzker, because they're going to need state help as well, and the Bears, deciding if this is the way to go or not. I think we'll have more to say on that down the line, but there's a lot of questions.
Has anyone ever actually seen plans for this proposed stadium on Lakefront? We've been talking about it but I don't think the Bears or anybody's put out any plans.
We've seen the renderings of White Sox maybe going to the 78.
Yeah, I think the Bears have just been a little behind the 8 ball compared to the Sox in this entire endeavor. At least, you had Jerry going over to Springfield to make his case, and we just haven't seen that same, I don't know, a good sports analogy here, offensive line or something.
Offensive.
Well, Jerry's been wooing.
Ground game.
Wrong Gene Greco.
Jerry's been wooing the legislators, and Kevin Warren with the Bears has been wooing the mayor, right? So they're working sort of different angles on this, and ultimately all of those people are going to have to agree in order to get anything.
And they're all hoping there's enough money to go around for everybody. Meanwhile, the city has all kinds of other needs. We're out of time right now, so our thanks to Madison Saavedra, Steve Daniels, Rima Amin, and Lee Giangreco, and we're back to wrap things up right after this.
Chicago Tonight is made possible in part by the Alexandra and John Nichols family. The Polk Brothers Foundation. Additional support is provided by
And that's our show for this Friday night. Don't forget you can get Chicago Tonight and the Week in Review streamed on Facebook, YouTube, and our website, WTTW.com/news. And now for the Week in Review, I'm Paris Schutz. Thank you so much for watching. Stay healthy and safe, and have a great weekend. Did anyone watch opening day
Yeah, I watched the
All this excitement this year for both the north side and the south side. 1-0.
Yeah, the White Sox, are they going to score a run this year? Or that's
you got the over or the under on that.
I just want a hot dog. That's all I want.
You just want to go and get one of those nice hot dogs at the U.S. Cellular Field. And Jason Benetti, he's calling games for Detroit. He's back in Chicago.
So sad, isn't it? He's the best. He's such a great broadcaster. That's a huge loss.
I think the best sports story right now is the Fighting Illini, no?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I kind of forgot about them.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that
People
is
at work
big.
were talking about that. I also
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a Chicago personal injury and wrongful death firm that is proud to be a multilingual law firm that provides translators for a variety of languages.